Hello, everybody. Welcome to American Scousers podcast. This is the December 6th, Thursday edition. Today with me is Hilary, and for the first time ever, we have Tim joining us. Welcome, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, let's see. So, we have a lot to talk about since Tuesday's podcast. Let's get at it right away. We came up with some projected lineups on Tuesday for Burnley game, and I think we got the midfields right with Hilary, but we were way off up front. So let me start by asking that. What was your guys' reaction when you guys first saw the lineup? Hilary, let's start with you. What did you think when you saw that lineup?
My first reaction was WTF. I kind of suspected we were going to see either Origi or Sturridge, but the fact that they both started just kind of was a bit shocking. Although, I don't know. With the team that we were playing, I guess it might have been a better fit and to try to rest people, but I was very shocked. And then Matip, there was like a wild Matip suddenly appearing. I thought there would be a little bit of a chance we would see him, but yeah, it was. And then we knew Mourinho was going to be there, so that wasn't a surprise. But yeah, it made me a little uneasy, I guess.
What did you think, Tim?
I agree with Hilary. When I first saw it, I thought, "Oh no, here we go again. This is like the League Cup lineup. What are we doing?" But then you look back at it, you figure the team you're playing, the conditions weren't all that great, so you kind of need more of a traditional striking pair to maybe get a cheap goal or two, because you're not going to be able to run through them like you would perhaps like a Man City who plays more wide open. So all in all, it is. With the subs we had and the people available, it worked out. It worked out in the end. So that's all that matters. We got the 3 points.
I think it just kind of like slightly exposed how good Origi and Sturridge are alone without, because obviously Sturridge almost like doubled his production once, Salah and Firmino came on the field where, they started getting some attention of the defenders, leaving some more room for Sturridge. It felt like when it was Sturridge and Origi, Burnley defense knew exactly where they were and how to defend them, and we really couldn't get anything going. But I was definitely shocked to see those two up front together. I was thinking either or, playing along with, probably Salah or something like that. But I guess all in all, the end result was good. But yeah, it was definitely a shocking lineup to see, and I was kind of interested. It made me even more interested in the game, look even more forward to the kickoff to see how this was going to pan out. But I guess we got the win at the end. What was the performance that you guys were most impressed by? Tim, who did you think out of that lineup, especially out of the starting lineup? Who did you think, who impressed you the most?
Obviously you got Virgil, but he's a stalwart, so he's always going to put in a solid performance. I was surprised with how well Keita played, actually. He looked good on the ball. He was always pressing forward. He had good passing. So with him not getting a lot of game time yet, it looked like he just slotted right in pretty perfectly, pretty easily.
Who did you like, Hilary?
Keita. I took a lot of notes during the game because I thought I would be on the podcast for Thursday. And every couple of lines, I'm like, Keita looks good. Keita looks good. I'm making comments about him. But yeah, I guess other than him, if I had to say someone that looked good, I guess Milner. I don't know, but yeah, Keita. Just like what's been said already, he was kind of getting back into what I knew of him when he played before he came to Liverpool, and so it was really hopeful. It was inspired a lot of hope to be able to see him play like that, especially after the the injury in the 19th minute, I was pretty upset. So, yeah, anything to inspire hope going into the next month, and that was a really good performance.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. Like, I do not watch a lot of Bundesliga. This year seems to be interesting. Usually, it's kind of like the French league as who's going to be second to Bayern. But so I really don't follow a lot of it. Once I knew we got Keita and he was coming over to Liverpool, I watched a couple of games. And I mean, if you watch YouTube videos, I'm sure you can put together a YouTube video of me that would make me look pretty darn good too. So it's kind of hard to judge a player by some clips put together of their best. But off what I saw and like the little glimpses, I was like, man, this could be something. It was more of a, can he adjust to the Premier League? That was definitely an awesome sign. I mean, the way he can carry the ball, eliminate defenders, create space, have some movements. The only thing I would be concerned about is him tracking back when needed. I think he's great at winning the ball when he's near the ball, like, when he's in the area. His tackles are like pretty darn solid. I just worry there were a couple of instances where he would track somebody down, but kind of like let him go. So I think it's risky to have probably him and Shaqiri at the same time in midfield. But man, that guy is a wizard on the ball and can really bring a lot. Otherwise, I thought Milner, like you said, was impressive. I mean, to me, I thought he was the man of the match just because of, over the 90 minutes, what he did. Played left back.
Yeah.
Did a better job than Moreno. So let me ask you guys this, because, I was discussing it with a couple of people online. After this game, where Moreno gets another chance and he kind of gets pulled, and not because he did a bad performance, I think he just had like a very neutral, invisible performance more than anything else. Would you guys anticipate, knowing this is his last season and he's not going to re-sign, would you guys anticipate Liverpool moving him in January?
I would say no. Oh, go ahead, Hilary.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a testament of what happens this month, because I wouldn't say he was completely invisible, because whenever I noticed him, he was in the box, like when Sturridge flicked him that ball. He was like the most forward player. That was early on in the game, I think, like almost halfway through the first half. But he I just think that like he could be an asset, but we just don't really know what exactly his place is gonna, like, if Andy Robertson is injured like again, or something happens to him, who's the other left back? Milner? I mean, we kind of need him in the midfield. He can be in that position, but then like the next person is from the U23s.
Yeah, and I think that's like the risky part. I mean, would you sell him? I mean, I guess this kind of depends on what we get for him too. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot for him, but I mean, would you sell him, Tim, or you just keep him and take the loss at the end of the year?
I think at this point, I would hold on to him and just take the loss at the end of the year. Just like Hilary said, in case Robbo gets hurt again, you really don't have a nailed-on left back. If you want to call Moreno a true left back, I took a note too when Serge tried to backheel him that pass in the box, and I was like, how is he the most central player and the most forward player when he's supposed to be left back? That's kind of what you get with him. But yeah, I would hold on to him. I mean, just like I said, in case anything else would happen, you need somebody there solid enough to get you through, and you could always protect him. Throw an extra defender on his side or whatnot. So that's what I would do.
I also think that Hendo and Milner, like, they knew what he was going to be doing, and I saw them tracking back to the point where it was like a back three sometimes, because they were kind of covering that left side. So, I mean, I don't know if that was part of the game plan or if he was just, wild and free on his own doing his thing. But I don't know. Wouldn't have been a hell of a thing if he had scored in that moment, though. Wow. But yeah, like I really would keep him. I guess I didn't give a definitive answer, but I guess I would keep him.
I don't know. I mean, I understand. Yeah, we definitely don't want to, but lock up Milner back there and take another body away from midfield, where we probably need the most rotation, just because obviously it's one of the most taxing positions on the field. But let's be honest. Let's say, God forbid, something happens to Robertson in February. Do we start Moreno rest of the season at left back, or do we start Milner at left back?
Well, I mean, and that's just also maybe they sell him in January and buy another left back. I mean, in January is not really a good time to buy, but maybe, I mean, we don't know. At the same time, like, what is the position that we would be shopping for in January?
And I think that, yeah, obviously depends on that too. I mean, if we are really after another midfielder, then you would be able to afford to slide Milner to left back if need be, which kind of lets you, makes Moreno kind of, disposable, if you will. I just personally would rather see, if it's an important game that we got to win, even though he doesn't have Moreno's speed, I think I would rather see Milner back there as left back than Moreno. At least I would feel a lot safer, less chance of a heart attack if I see Milner as left back than Moreno as left back. But I mean, I guess it really depends on
who are the center backs.
What was it? I'm sorry.
I mean, who's next to Van Dijk? Like, is it Matip? Because if it's, I mean, and now Gomez, like, how long is he going to be out? So, I mean, that left back position, we do need someone who is going to be a dependable force, because we don't, like, I don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah, I think it just really depends on if there somebody desperate enough out there to offer something worthwhile to pique our interest to take Moreno off our hands in January. Otherwise, knowing Klopp, and yeah, he's not big on January moves, so it is very possible that he will just finish out the season like Emre and kind of like leave at the end, because I really do not see them re-signing him for next year. So just one of those things I wondered as I was like watching him come off, and I'm like, I mean, when is he gonna come back again? Not that we have a lot of options as left back, and obviously we can't play Robertson to death every single game on the left over there. But I thought, I think that's like one of Milner's biggest strengths is his delivery into the box, and it was so much better. And I probably not fair on Moreno either, because everything opened up a lot more once we got Salah and Firmino on the field, which created more room on the left to be able to get those balls in the box and stuff like that. So probably not a fair assessment, but I felt like that wing improved drastically once we put Milner over there in terms of helping the offense. But it was a good comeback win. What do you guys think of the goal that we conceded? Tim, did you? It's obvious by book it should be offside. I don't think it was a foul. The broadcast was just infuriating, if anything else. But what did you think of the goal?
I think the broadcaster was saying it was hard to tell. You couldn't get a clear line. I definitely think it was a fair play on the ball. Allison didn't have control of it. It's just one of those things, a bunch of bodies in a box, everything's going on. It's hard from somebody on a touchline to see in, but it happens. I mean, if it happened the other way, though, if we scored that way, we'd be saying the same thing. It wasn't a clear sign. The refs let them play on. It's a goal. So it's just, looking through red colored glasses one way or the other,
Yeah, fair enough. I think so too. But so looking ahead now that we kind of put this past behind us, and now we head to a very early Saturday morning game against Bournemouth. Do you even dare come up with a projected lineup for this game, Hilary?
I I think we'll see Lovren. And I hope Bobby starts. But I honestly wouldn't even know where to start with any of the other positions.
I mean, do we expect? I don't think we have. I mean, obviously, we'll find out more with tomorrow's press conference. But do we? I mean, it almost sounds like we're not gonna risk Mane again, especially before an important game for Champions League. So you would think Salah and Firmino will be back there in the starting lineup, or do we rest them again and bring him in case of an emergency? Looking ahead to Tuesday, do you have a forecast for this lineup, Tim? It's getting scary to kind of like gamble now.
I would start Firmino and Salah up front and maybe try to get a goal or two lead. And then you could always sub them off, put a Sturridge or an Origi in to be more of a holding central player. I didn't see anything on Robbo if he's going to be able to play. If he is, I would put him back in. And then center backs, I'd go with Van Dijk and Lovren. And then in midfield, it's just probably going to be Milner, Henderson, and maybe Keita again. Maybe he did enough to get another start, or maybe put Fabinho in, give him some minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the midfield is probably going to be the trickiest. The rest kind of really depends on fitness more than anything else, probably, doesn't it? I mean, if you're going to see Robertson or Lovren out there, and because Lovren's injury is like a semi-mystery injury, like a head clash at practice, so we don't know how bad that is really. I guess like it would become a bit more clear with tomorrow's press conference. But so with Gomez out up to 6 weeks, and knowing Klopp where he does not really use the player until they're practicing 100%, it will probably be 6 weeks. Who is your guys' preference to start next to Van Dijk? We'll go with you first, Hilary. Who would you like to see?
I mean, it would be Lovren, but I mean, other than I can't remember the young kid's name. Don't we have one who's cute? He's been on the bench in games.
You just call him cute? I heard that.
What?
Did you just call him cute?
I said kid.
Oh, I thought you meant like a cute kid.
I can't even think of who it is. I'm pretty sure. I mean, who else is there other than Matip or Lovren?
Yeah, out of the two, I guess, is more my question. Like, who would you guys rather have start over there?
I mean, during the Burnley game, the first half was really rough for Matip. I think there are a lot of moments where I was like, what are you doing? In the second half, he had some moments that were good. Off the top of my head, I probably wrote somewhere in my notes, like, wow, what? But I don't know. Like, I would pick Lovren just because I have a little bit more faith in him.
Who do you go with, Tim?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'd have to go with Lovren too. Just so I think over the long haul, he's a better fit with Van Dijk, and I think Van Dijk can make up for a lot of his disparity. Yeah, Lovren likes to be a little reckless on the ball, likes to maybe make challenges he shouldn't go after. I think with Van Dijk back there, you can kind of almost put whoever, whether it's Lovren or Matip, it'll be a solid central defending just because of Van Dijk being back there.
Someone said that he was yelling Joel like constantly throughout that game. Like yelling at him. I didn't notice it, but I can imagine that that's probably true.
I can say that. I mean, Mata definitely looked rusty in the beginning, even, like Klopp was talking about it after the game. But I thought as the game went on, especially in the second half, it looked a lot more comfortable because of the pairing. And now you're definitely going to have Trent on the right-hand side. unless the famous Clyde makes an appearance. But so I would think probably like the more natural fit is Lauren, more like how we finished kind of like last season more than anything else. But definitely the worst time to lose a player like Gomez, not only because of his position and like the dynamic they had going with Van Dijk. I thought he was probably playing his best. I would argue. I mean, he was. I mean, there were several games where I thought he was even better than Van Dijk in some ways back there. So, and I think Tim, you're right. I mean, whoever you put next to Van Dijk automatically looks better just because of Van Dijk. But at the same time, they're all the teams are going to be basically going at Lauren. Nobody goes at Van Dijk. That's why I think a young player like Gomez is even more impressive because nobody is going at Van Dijk. The forward is kind of like parked on the shoulder of Gomez usually, and even then he's looked so solid overall that it's a bad time to lose a kid like that because I thought he was playing his best football really lately. So, out of your notes, Hilary, what else did you have from the Burnley game that you were like, better write this down?
Because I was kind of I had a lot of criticisms of Trent in my notes. He had a lot of passes that he passed to Burnley. But I don't know. I underlined Milner a lot because I really thought he had a great game. But yeah, I have like Trent misses pass, ugh, and a few Mays next to Mourinho's name. So I don't know. I think that overall, and when Alisson made that save, there's just like a really big wow. I think the biggest thing for me was that final goal sequence, everything that happened, from Sturridge or Alisson to Sturridge to Salah with that half volley to Shaqiri. I mean, that was just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean the way that goal was created. I mean, especially what Alisson does. I mean, that was probably my biggest thing. Once that goal went in, I mean, it was you get what you pay for, and which is probably why City is doing so well with the money being spent, and finally we're getting we're spending the money getting the quality players instead of kind of like trying to find gems. I mean, you look on the field and Van Dijk and Alisson have changed everything back there, and it doesn't only affect all these shutouts or the clean sheets and like superior defense, the least goals conceded and stuff. It really helps the offense too, just because of how those guys handle things back there. And I think it helps like the midfield. It's just amazing how we spend big money on these two guys, but it almost still somehow feels like we got a good deal out of it. Like it was a steal somehow, even though we spent all that money, which is awesome because the worst could be have another Andy Carroll incident where we spent tons of money for basically nothing. So, so looking ahead to the weekend. Actually, before we even get there, I want to kind of pick your guys' brain on this too because I saw this online and actually we were talking about earlier, Hilary, about do we call back any of these players from loan, and obviously the main one is going to be Wilson. Do you guys foresee that coming in January, or we just keep moving?
I can see us bringing Wilson back only because as we progress through the Premier League and hopefully the Champions League and then the FA Cup, those games are going to be quick with the turnaround, and it wouldn't hurt to have somebody like Wilson who's produced. And it would be nice to have somebody like that. In a FA Cup game, you can put slot of Wilson and maybe not lose a lot through the I think we have Wolves. Is it in the first match of the FA Cup? He could slot in nicely. I guess like the lower teams like that, he could probably make a seamless transition But I think it would do him good, too, to be back at Melwood training with the first team. So I think next year that's where he's going to be. So you might as well just get the jump on it now. That way, in the next season, if you lose somebody, you have to sell somebody, you have him kind of like ready-made to go in there.
What do you think, Hilary? Do we bring this kid back?
I don't know. I think it really depends on if we have any more injuries and long-term injuries. But also, Ox is coming back at some point. Didn't you say it's kind of projected for January-ish? Not that
they're talking about like making the end of the season more than anything else for him to be fit, and you know he's not going to be played until we're like 100% sure. So it's almost like if he shows up, it'll be icing on the cake. It'll be like an additional bonus. But I don't know if you can. I don't know if you want to like count on him definitely coming back. Just knowing how Klopp handles these injuries, and he thinks more long term than some coaches would just throw him in there to get the most out of like a short term playing kind of deal, especially if their job is online. But I don't see Klopp playing him until he shows that he's 110% ready.
Yeah, so I mean, I really feel like if there's one more injury that's going to be long term somewhere in the front three or one of our more forward midfielders, I definitely would think that they would probably consider bringing him back. Also because a lot of the people who are rumored to be interested in or who are rumored in being interested in Liverpool can't play Champions League, or that's always something to consider. Is this player going to be able to fit into where can we play them? So I would say no, unless there's another one or two injuries to our main starting players.
I honestly, even then, I feel like we should leave him where he's at, get the playing experience, and I guess what would make a huge difference is what happens in this next 2-3 weeks in terms of how the FA Cup progress and obviously the Champions League progress goes. In terms of how many games we're going to have. I just feel like he will not get as many chances to be able to play and improve himself as he would.
If let's say someone in the front three is injured and out for 2 or 3 months, you want who would we you want to bring in Woodburn?
No, I mean, hey, I wish, he was back to his old form, yeah, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It depends on, I guess, the position, too, especially if it's the wing, which we put Wilson, I guess, maybe then. But I just do not think we should take him back just in case we have an injury. I guess we have an injury between now and then. Yeah, go ahead. But I don't think we should call him back and just have him, sit on the bench, not even make the 18 most games, just for an in-case scenario. I feel like he's going to improve a lot more playing every game over there. And here's another thing. I mean, obviously, he's playing really well, scoring some good goals. And I actually watched one of the games. I mean, yeah, he looks really good, but he is playing at a different level. I don't know if he's going to be able to bring the same performance here. Whereas, like Tim is saying, I think if we're starting the beginning of the next season, he's going through the preseasons and stuff like that, a lot more chance to kind of build up his play instead of being called back in January like he's like the savior. I think it's kind of not fair to the kid to put that much pressure on him and calling him back, expect him to do so much on the field. Agree, disagree? You guys are just I have no idea.
I mean, I really feel like it's dependent on what our need is going to be come January 1st.
So let's look closer. Let's look to the weekend. Some good games. Obviously, if we are able to take care of our work on Saturday, City has a game where, this is about one of their toughest games. I know Chelsea just lost, but still they're really good at home, and obviously it's a quality team that can do some damage. What are you guys forecasting? Let's start for that game. What do you guys forecast for that Chelsea City game? Tim, let's start with you. How do you see that going?
I think it'll be a tight match. I just think City's just going to find a way to keep winning. I think Pep has more than one way to play, and he has just a player. I mean, his subs, his bench could be a starting 11 for most teams in the league. So I just think he has the depth and the talent, and I think City's just going to keep winning, unfortunately. So I think we have to match them throughout the rest of the year, match for match, game for game, point for point. I just think City's going to be too much for Chelsea to handle.
What do you think, Hilary? Does Chelsea do us a favor this weekend?
I think there's hope of that. Is Aguero gonna play?
Not sure, to be honest with you. I barely know our own team's injury status in some of these, so I haven't followed on it. But like Tim says, I mean, with that team, there's always somebody to fill in those shoes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's gonna be it's gonna be City just, like you always like to say, making it look easy. And so I think that if Chelsea can just make it a little bit hard for them, and take an opportunity if it presents itself, but there'll probably be very few for them to take. So I don't know.
I think we can only help our cause by winning in the morning and putting more pressure on City. Hopefully, kind of rattling them in bits, making it a must-win to stay ahead kind of thing. And hope for, one of those solid games out of Chelsea. I mean, that's the thing with Chelsea. I feel like there's, obviously Hazard, they have a couple of players. If they have good games, the whole team goes, but they just don't have the squad depth. Obviously, nobody has the squad that City has, but I think they just don't have the squad depth sometimes to put somebody else in there to get something going, kind of like what happened to them this weekend. How do you guys see our game going? Tim, I mean, what do you think? Is it going to be the Burnley game, or since Bournemouth plays a totally different style, do we see something totally different out there?
No, I can see us winning this 3-1 or 4-1 pretty comfortably. I was digging into Bournemouth a little bit, and out of their results that they've got, 6 of them have come against teams without cards, and 5 of them come to teams with a red card. They're tied for 6th in the league with Everton and Man United, which isn't saying much. And it just is going through it. I mean, against Everton, they drew 2-2. Everton had a man send off. They beat Leicester City 4-2. They had a man send off. Same thing with Blackburn, Watford, and Fulham. So, I mean, as long as we stay out of the book, I think we should have a good shot. Because even the teams they beat, I mean, Cardiff, West Ham in the beginning of the season, when they played 11v11, I mean, there's nobody impressive on this list that they've matched up with. I think West Ham is the highest that they've beaten, who stayed with the full 11-man squad, and they're 13th in the table. So I see this going pretty easy our way.
See, it's good to have Tim to replace Jack's optimism on the podcast. So just picking him where you left off. What do you have, Hilary?
I mean, it's James Milner's, if he plays, it'll be his 500th Premier League appearance. And I hope, we get another great goal from him. Celebrate with some Ribena. But I honestly don't know what to expect. I've only watched 2 of Bournemouth's games this season. And I think that we can, pull it off. I would even see us being able to keep a clean sheet and go up with that goal differential.
Just give it up already. I think, yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep going with the optimism. By the way, not to, toot my own horn and show off my medals here, but after nailing the score dead on Tuesday for the Burnley game, I feel like I agree with Tim. I think, yeah, this is going to be almost an easier game because Burnley just plays dirty. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They're like almost like overly physical. They try to intimidate you. Whereas having seen Bournemouth a few times, but I just don't get that same feeling from them. It's not that their style. With now, I mean, they have lost Cook pretty much the entire season now, I think. So that's a huge loss for them. So I think that will only help us as well. I actually think, yeah, we get a clean sheet and we win this one 3-0. And see, I even did the first score prediction, and you can take this one to the bank after Tuesday, but let's see if I can get a streak going. What do you have for a scoreline, Tim?
I'm going to say 4-0. I think we're just going to blow the doors off them. I think that goal that we scored to seal the match on Wednesday to make it 3-1 was vintage Liverpool. And I think for even when Firmino scored, it's almost like a basketball player, pure shooter who's having a tough night. He makes one or two foul shots. You just visualize the ball going through the net. And then then he has a huge stretch of games. I think that's what happened with Firmino on Wednesday. I think Firmino gets one or two, Salah gets one, and then we'll go with Hilary, and Millie gets one from the spot in his 500th Premier League game.
Man, Tim not only gives a prediction, he tells you how the goals are going to be scored. So that's pretty darn impressive. So what do you have, Hilary? I guess we're way too optimistic on this side. So,
man, I'd probably say 3-0.
3-0, you jump.
I want to say 5-0. I want to say 5-0, but I don't
see Tim's forward and raise him one.
Millie gets a brace. No.
I really like what Tim said, and that's like a perfect analogy. And I'm just hoping that's the case, that like a basketball shooting thing where a couple of goals and we kind of break loose. Because I mean, we've kind of gone the complete opposite from having a very strong offense, but kind of like a scare defense to not be able to keep up with it at times, to the opposite where we're very solid in the back, but we just cannot get the goals in. And I know part of this, solidifying the defense is because we're playing differently, and that definitely takes away from the support that the offense gets. But it feels like the chances are always there. And balls that would go in last year are not going in this year yet, but which is only promising. I mean, we're having a great season so far, best start that Liverpool has had, and we're only 2 points behind. And, we're not really firing in all cylinders, which should only increase the expectations and hope that once this offense gets going, we should be unstoppable, and maybe we'll do a couple of city tricks, and hey, maybe we'll get that goal differential. I don't think we'll get the goal differential still, but I feel like, once we get a couple of goals in, like that Firmino tap in, it's a tap in, but once you get that, the drought out of the way and get a couple of goals in, I'm just hoping the floodgates open up and these guys just go crazy.
Yeah, I think it's 14 right now, so
yeah, it's 14.
So we already started closing the gap this weekend. I mean, this Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, so I think that I'm gonna have to, now that I've been, after the last podcast, I'm gonna have to agree with something that Jack said about the passing.
Are you positive?
Wait, what?
Do you really want to agree with something Jack said? Did you really think this through? No, I'm just messing with you. What did Jack say that was right? So I write this down, please.
He does not get a trophy for it.
Oh, he'll be disappointed.
No, I think that the passing in that final pass has a lot to do with it. I noticed like a couple of the shots that, or you know, especially like Salah had one. I think Sturridge had a few where their first touch just wasn't quite right, and the angle and everything. And I'm not sure if we're just not lining up, like everything in that last final third is just so, it's a slightly different than how it was before, just because of how he's tinkered with it. I hate to use that word. But I kind of started to notice that it was a shot we would have made last year, but then like Salah had like too many touches because of that first touch, and then it's everything like that. So I feel like this is going to be the time where it all kind of adjusts into place, and we start to see it lining up, and we start to see those balls going in. I'm crossing my fingers. So I think there's still hope for the goal differential.
Yeah, I guess it's good to have that hope. I just feel like, regardless, if we were able to, fire in all cylinders, we could still win this thing with points and stuff anyway. I just hope now is the time. And yeah, let's hope we're right with our predictions, because, 3, 4, or 5 goals means somebody up there is scoring. Which means, it would be great to turn that thing around this month, and great timing for offense to come alive with all these playing against United, Arsenal, and of course City. So I'm almost trying not to look ahead to Tuesday, because I feel like that's my biggest fear, is I hope the players don't look ahead to Tuesday, and I'm hoping Klopp does not let them. And I think the rotation kind of helps with that too, because keeps people more on task as they get the opportunity to play. I think they focus more on the specific game they're in. But taking like a slight peek to Tuesday, how do you guys think it will affect this game Saturday morning? Like, do you guys anticipate changes in terms of lineup, how we play, etc.? We'll start with you, Tim. What do you think?
I think we can get a 2-goal lead by half. I think that Klopp's quick on the substitutions, and he'll pull Salah, he'll pull Firmino, keep them healthy, keep them rested, because really all hands on deck have to be for Tuesday. That's the way I look at it. Yeah, the league's important for sure, but if we get a 2-goal lead up with the way the defense is playing and with Alisson in net, I think that 2 goals should be enough. And as long as Firmino gets 2 and Salah gets 1 and Milner gets 1, I'm good with whatever substitution he has in the second half.
What do you think, Hilary? What do you see different? Or will we see anything different, or we just treat it as there is no Tuesday?
I think that he will have that in mind when he picks the starting front three. I think that's after the display we saw against Burnley, and just kind of how that ended up working out with Sturridge and Origi. I think that he'll probably be taking a few different things into consideration with that, and I would agree. I would think that we might even see like a really not like Klopp early substitution, just because that game we have to win. But isn't it more that we can't let them score?
Yes and no. If they score, we just gotta win by 2. It's like a huge lineup of scores that basically helps us progress and helps them progress. So if we win 1-0, we're through. After that, 2-0, obviously we're through. But if they score 1, now we're having to score like 3. Then we have to win. It's almost like a away goal, if you will, where now we have to score. So if they score 1, we would have to score 3. We would have to win by 2.
Okay. Yeah, like I actually think maybe we might see a little bit more than we might see a similar, defensive lineup this weekend. maybe another Mourinho appearance. I don't know.
I actually, yeah. I mean, I guess while we're at it, let's. We came up with scores. We're almost like too afraid to touch the lineups now. I know I am. But I would think, I mean, in terms of my take, in terms of how it will affect, I think anybody who is a slight doubt will not even be considered for the lineup and will be saved for Tuesday. And I think that includes Robertson, Mane, maybe even Lauren. So I'm thinking we start the same lineup with Trent on the right, obviously, instead of Gomez. You would think Genie will be coming back into the play somehow. And then maybe rest. I guess we can't rest Milner because then he can't score for Tim. And I would think, up front, since Mane is not going to be there, it's almost like Shaqiri has to be there because I don't think Lallana or Solanke are not fit. I don't know if Sturridge or Origi get another run out there to see if they do any better this time. Going back to what Tim is saying, I think, I know resting them is important as well, but I almost find that getting them their groove back is more important right now than getting them rest. Would you guys agree to that or no? Especially with Salah and Firmino.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with that. I wouldn't want to. I also agree with you with the injury. Like, don't even play Mane. Like, just hold him back. But yeah, I agree with you on that. And also, I think Lallana was on the bench in that game. Wasn't he? Even though they said he was injured?
Yes. He was, when I was looking at the injury report, he was considered to be, doubtful to play, but he was on the bench, which, like I say, with the game, the way the game went, and that's probably the last person. The way Burnley was playing, there are a couple of players that you definitely didn't want out there, and him would be the top guy because it looked like Burnley was out to injure somebody. So I guess while we're kind of like touch on that, let me guys ask you that. Obviously, Klopp and Dice kind of got into it after the game, and Klopp's comments after the game, the post game conference about referees controlling the tackles a bit more. Where do you guys stand on that? I know if you're like old school football guy, they're like, yeah, that's football, that's tough and stuff like that. But obviously, the game has changed a lot since then. So I guess let's start with you, Tim. Like, what did you think of that? Like, when you watch something like that, like, would you rather have your team play like that as well to match the toughness in some ways, or you feel like the referee should step in a lot more than they did?
I'm not sure if the referee should step in a lot more. I think, if it's clean, if you get the ball and you slide through somebody, then okay. But if you're just haphazardly out there diving and trying to take people's legs out, and if you're late or if you're going up high, there's no need for that anymore. I mean, it takes away from the game. It takes away from, like, if I'm paying my money, I want to see players like Messi, Ronaldo, Salah. I want to see them. I want to see their talent. I don't need to see Joe Schmo from the beer league doing 2 feet tackles, taking out those stars. I'm not paying to see defense. I'm not paying to see those tackles. That's the way I look at it.
What do you think, Hilary? What's your take?
Yeah, I think that there's no place for the really heavy, unnecessary tackles. I don't know what. I guess I have to agree with Tim.
I felt like they could. I mean, I do not want football to be the new NFL or NBA where to help scoring or to protect the stars, you can't even like cough next to these guys anymore or anything like that. But so the toughness of the game still has to be there. But I mean, having played defense forever, that's where the ref has to control the tackles a bit more. I mean, I'm going to keep doing it till somebody tells me otherwise. I'm going to try to intimidate the guy. I'm going to make him hear footsteps because of the tackle I did on him like 5 minutes earlier. until I get some kind of a warning that I have to think twice now before I go at it. And it felt like they never got that warning, and that's what Klopp was really asking for. If you're not going to get that warning, I'm going to keep doing it till you give me the warning. Then I'm going to kind of scale it back. Why would I scale it back if nobody tells me to scale it back? Because all I'm doing is I'm either winning the ball and hurting the guy, or I'm hurting the guy to make him think twice next time he receives the ball, which affects his touch. I mean, all those kind of things that the defenders do. And it felt like, obviously, with the weather wasn't helping. I mean, those slide tackles, I mean, you can go for miles in that rain, just slide tackling. I felt like they let a lot go. And that's when the only thing I don't agree with some of the things that, the Premier League is officiated, and that's why I think they suffer when they go to the European Cups, is some of these things are let go. And then when we go to the Champions League, or, when these players go to the World Cup, they're shocked that, something like that will be called a foul. You hear commentators all the time saying, there's not enough, much in it for me, or not enough contact and stuff like that. I mean, a foul should be a foul. You shouldn't have to break the guy in two for it to be called. I almost feel like, he went down a bit too easy. And I know sometimes, the players kind of take it to an extent where they take the dives and stuff, but it felt like everything was being let go at Burnley. And I don't think that's what caused Gomez's injury. That was more like, like sliding all the way into the panel, which I don't know. I never understand why those panels are so freaking close. I know we're trying to get every dollar here, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse. There were so many incidents where you could have seen several of our players get injured at a very important time. I mean, which other leagues do you guys watch when you guys don't watch the Premier League, and how do you guys, how would you guys compare it? Like, Hilary, I know you watch a lot of Bundesliga, correct?
Yeah.
How would you compare that? Like, what the officiating you see there compared to the Premier League?
I think the officiating is a little bit better. They also have VAR, but I don't know, because there's usually at least once or twice a weekend there's one of those really bad tackles. So I mean, but they don't get away with it. So I don't know. I think that I also noticed a lot of the commentators in the Premier League saying, 20 years ago that tackle would have been okay or something.
Yeah.
I still feel like they are calling them, but I think it's probably more part of the culture there, with the toughness and the physicality of it, to, I don't know, be a little bit more accepting. And you just have teams who like Burnley, who like that is their thing, is that they're the physical, and that you would go in expecting that. And that's, I kind of agree with you in that point, where like, if that's something you should expect, then yes, the official should have at least, said something at some point, because if like you said, you don't want it to just keep happening to the point where maybe it does end up causing an injury because it goes a little too far.
What do you think, Tim? Like, do you watch? I mean, I don't know which leagues you watch, for example, outside of the Premier League, but how would you compare the, I guess, level of toughness in play? Probably not as the best way to do it. It's not like, the guys in the other leagues are not tough, but in terms of like how the game is played and kind of like how the referees handle it.
I wouldn't really compare leagues as much as I would compare where the players come from. So like you said, when we go to Europe, the English players play one way, the Brazilians and the Portuguese and the Spanish players and the Italians play another way. Where, the English, and you run through the tackle, you try to stay on your feet, you try to make a play. Where, if you touch a Brazilian or cough on a Italian player, they go down like they're shot. So I don't know if it's so much of a league thing as it is just how you're brought up playing the game from a youth level all the way up to the pro level.
slight mishap there. I think we lost and came right back somehow. But so I don't think we're going to solve Premier League soccer problems today, but definitely a good topic to discuss on a different podcast in terms of how we compare this league and maybe what makes this league better in some ways compared to others too. But so looking to the weekend, what is the one thing you guys are looking forward to at the Bournemouth game? Like one thing is you're intrigued to see. We'll start with you, Hilary. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I hope Milner starts. Or at least plays. I don't. It doesn't have to be a start to count. Probably just a game. So I hope we get to see him on the field. That he gets his 500th game. And I hope he gets a brace. Or at least one goal.
At least one, yeah.
But yeah, I guess I just want to see more of this like build up in the midfield that we've had with like either Fabinho or Keita like coming on the field and playing a game that is what we've seen from them in the last week. And just more of that is what I'm looking for.
How about you, Tim?
I like to just build off of the midweek match. How we ended just on a counterattack. I know it's easy to counter when you're up by a goal or two, but I think if we just come out and just run through them, just burn the doors off them. Get the ball in defense, Allison, a quick outlet, get it to midfield. I like to call it turn and burn, and you just go. One touch, you turn, you find the open man, get it to them, get numbers forward, and just, if we come out and put 2 on them, 3 on them, just take their will away to play. Don't let them hang around. Just do how we did last year. It's a different squad, obviously, but just go in there and say, listen, we're Liverpool, you're Bournemouth, we're better than you, and we're going to prove it on the scoreline and just blow their doors off.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I'm kind of like after. I do hope we start Salah and Firmino. I know it's kind of like, rolling the dice and asking for a lot to get the lead so we can like take him out earlier. But either way, I'm more of a fan of getting these guys out of their groove, getting them back in the flow of things rather than getting them rest at this point. So I do hope we start with a strong lineup, especially up front, and score some goals and get these guys opened up. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to, hoping this Burnley game was kind of like a turning point in terms of offense, that counter. And I think when those two guys came in, how everything opened up a lot more with Keita in there. I would like to see Keita on the field the entire, from the start with Firmino and Salah in front of him, because the way he played, I think if he had people in front of him moving a lot more, opening up space, he would be even more effective. It felt like it was a little bit stagnant when he was initially with like Sturridge and Origi up there. Okay, well, thanks to both of you. Been a great podcast, minus the technical difficulties there. And hopefully we'll talk again sometime this weekend after the Bournemouth game.
All right, sounds good. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
You guys have a good one.
Bye.